You are watching or listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, bringing you your daily dose of business and technology to educate, empower, and inspire small business owners. Be sure to subscribe to the show today.
Good morning, everybody. Listen, child, let me tell y'all something. So I had a different plan. Thank you. Today's episode is going to be talk about the gender gap in entrepreneurship. But I got to tell you, I had a different plan. I had a totally different plan from what I originally thought I was going to do. And I had this plan, like I'm going to do the show once a week, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, my hosting platform said that they were going to cut out my live audio. And I do live audio, 4 days a week live. And so my goal was to do the live audio and all the stuff that I had to do with that. And then go back and do like some video. Well, my podcast hosting company said they're going to cut out my live audio. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. So 4 days a week live, which is what I've been avoiding, is what I'll be doing on video. So shout out to everybody watching. We're streaming live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Amazon. Amazon is doing some kind of freaky stuff. I'm trying to figure out what's happening. It's saying waiting for my live stream. But anyway, we're streaming live on all of these platforms. So glad to be with you this morning. We're going to be talking about the gender gap in entrepreneurship. But before I do that, I got to thank my sponsor. So I got to play a commercial. I'll be right back and we're going to jump right into it. Stay tuned.
Welcome to True Blue Services, your trusted partner for top-notch electrical solutions. At True Blue, we pride ourselves on quality and reliability. With a 4-year warranty, you can rest easy knowing your electrical needs are in expert hands. Electrical vehicle charging stations, we're certified for Tesla and ChargePoint, installing thousands from top brands like Loop and Clipper Creek. Call 404-372-1916 or visit www.trueblueservicesga.com. Use promo code TRUE62.
Welcome back. It's your girl, Audrey Bell Kearney, bringing you the daily dose of business and technology. So what to look forward to moving forward. Monday through Thursday, I'll be here talking business and technology on the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. I'll also have some guests from time to time on the show as well, sharing what they're doing. So be sure to check it out. Something is wrong. So listen, something is wrong with Amazon right now. Something's wrong with their stream platform. So I'm trying to get them to connect. But anyway, I'll have guests on the show as well. So be sure to stop in and check out my guests. Pretty much, at least 1 or 2 guests a week. But I'll be talking business and tech because that's where my heart is. And then I'm hiring. So if you know someone who wants to be a part of my family at Good Morning Gwinnett, I'm hiring someone to do news and politics. I'm not doing news and politics. I'm doing business and tech. So I will be hiring someone who will come on and host the episode 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Monday through Thursday, doing news and politics for Gwinnett County. So looking for someone who wants to become a part of the team. I'm hiring, so check us out. All right, we're going to talk about entrepreneurship and the gender gap. There is a gender gap. I know a lot of people don't think there's a gender gap, but there is. I remember going to an event where I had to pitch some investors, and predominantly white men. And it was crazy because I felt so out of sorts because you could see that they were looking at me like, what is she talking about? And I was pitching something back in the day where, there weren't, like right now you can stream on pretty much any platform. I'm streaming on 8 platforms right now. Back then I was pitching them to be investors in my company, and I was on Amazon and Roku at the time. Anybody can get on Amazon and Roku now, but back then it was like kind of unheard of unless you had like a big budget. And I wanted to expand because I wanted to bring on more creative shows for the channel. And I was pitching them, and you could see like their faces and the way they were looking at me. It was crazy. And I felt out of sorts. However, one of the guys said something that was kind of slick. And of course, I answered back kind of slick. And the women in the room, and it was about 35 women, they all gasped like that, right? But he said something that was slick. So, to me, it was a matter of respect, which I felt like he was being disrespectful, and I had to let him know I didn't like it. And so when I kind of clapped back at him, it was like, the women gasped, right? But then after I did my pitch, they were like, "Oh my God, I'm so proud of you," whatever. The thing is, I didn't get the investment. So, but listen, that didn't stop the show. I still went live on Amazon and Roku with my company, and we got up to like 100 and something thousand subscribers on Roku. So it still happened, is what I'm saying. But sometimes we want to get support from other people, and when it comes to us getting investment dollars, when it comes to us getting support, there's a gap there. And I know people don't want to see it, and I know probably we'll get some people telling me, oh, you doing, because I get this a lot, y'all. You're a feminist. I've been called all kinds of things since I launched the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce. I've been called a feminist, and I hate men, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I was like, I'm married to a man. I have brothers, I have nephews and uncles. I love men. So don't get that twisted. What we're talking about today is how can we bridge the gap, the gender gap in entrepreneurship, because there's a gap, right? But we need a solution. And there are 10 things that I have that I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about 5 of the 10. If you want to get the other 5, you can go to the Good Morning Gwinnett website and get the other 5 there. But I want to talk about a few things I think we can do right now to kind of bridge that gap. Now, the fact that I'm the president of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber, this is the first one that pops out to me, because I don't know if there's such a thing. However, it's something that I'm looking to implementing. So policy and legislation, right? So when it comes to policy and legislation, there's a lot that can be done on the governmental level. The problem is who's actually out there advocating for such policies, right? So, excuse me. One of the things I thought about when I was thinking about how can we bridge that gap was policy and legislation. Now, the reason I thought about that is because we're in an election season right now, and there are candidates everywhere trying to get you to vote for them. And if you don't really know what you want, then you can't really ask them what to fight for you for, right? And here's the thing. A lot of times we don't see these people until election season. So for me, I've been throwing out things that are important to me, that are important to the women of the chamber, the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce. And I'm always looking at how can we better serve our members, right, in our community. So one of the things that I thought about was, because it is an election season, this is what came to mind, was to figure out if there's a way for us to do any tax incentives for women-led businesses. Now, this may already exist. I just don't know about it, but I'm going to look into it, because I feel like laws that ensure equal opportunities and regulations that address gender discrimination will be great in the business world, right? But are there any tax incentives for that? I get the question all the time, when I go talk to people in economic development, what are they looking for? What are we looking for? And, it's like, well, I want you guys support, but I feel like that's not enough for them. And when I say that, support could be anything, and I feel like now I could say, look, we would like to have tax incentives for women-led businesses. Now I can go there, and it sounds like it makes sense for economic development as it pertains to government. Because, we've been asking for support, and we've got support from our local government, which I'm so grateful for. But I feel like we could do more. But I think when you don't know what to ask for, you don't ask the right questions. So for me, it was like, okay, how can I continue to support the women of the GWC? And for me, it's about bridging that gap right now. It's about making sure that there's work-life balance. A lot of the women in the chamber are solopreneurs. So one of the things we need to figure out is how to help them juggle all of these roles that they juggle. Because listen, my head is heavy with the hats that I wear, baby. My head is heavy with the hats that I wear. And I know for a lot of people, there's a work-life balance kind of thing. So I was talking to someone recently in government, as a matter of fact. I don't even know if I could share this. I probably won't, but it was something that actually addressed work-life balance. It's a great concept and a great initiative that hopefully we're going to work together on, because we talked about it just in a long conversation, but we haven't sat down and put pen to paper yet to work that thing out. But it looks amazing, like the concept. I feel like it could be done. I feel like it's going to help with work-life balance for women who juggle multiple roles. And I'm looking forward to see how that pans out. And that's on a governmental level, right? That's on a governmental level. And we had the conversation, and we were like, this is amazing. Let's make it happen. Let's make it work. So work-life balance is another way to help that. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes your government has to get involved, right? And we want them to get involved, but we need to know the right questions to ask. We need to know the right initiatives to put in place. I'm over here always thinking of initiatives, right? I'm running about people like, what you think about this initiative? If it's going to help the women of the GWC, if it's going to help the community and where I live, heck, if it's going to help the world, like women in business everywhere, business owners everywhere, small businesses everywhere, new entrepreneurs everywhere, I'm all for it. So I'm always over here trying to figure out the next best thing that's going to help us thrive in what we do, because that's important. Another thing is encouraging inclusivity in all sectors. Now, here's the thing, full transparency, that is a huge statement. And the reason I say that's a huge statement is because I have seen women, and I'm talking to y'all women, because I'm over here talking about how we can bridge this gap, but you got to take some responsibility for bridging gap too. We did the Georgia AI Summit, and we had a lot of women there, right? But there were women who did not attend the event because it had the word tech attached to it, and because it had the word AI attached to it. Just for those reasons, they didn't see how it could benefit them, and they were in positions, they have businesses that could have benefit anybody in the room. So instead of them looking at how can my business benefit the people in the room, they looked at how can this event benefit me, which was crazy in my eyes. But because it had the word tech attached to it and the word AI, they could not see it. Me personally, I'm like, you know what? If you don't know that what you do could benefit anybody in the room, right? That you have to get a grip on your business, because I saw where it was startups in that room, right? So guess what startups are looking for? Tech startups. They were tech startups. Guess what they're looking for? They're looking for CFOs. They're looking for bookkeepers. They're looking for tax people. They're looking for marketing people. They're looking for, some of them may be looking for coaches. But because the word tech was attached to that, they were like, yeah, it's not for me. But are you a coach? Can you coach? And can you coach? Because if you're a coach and there are people in the room starting tech companies and they're building these team of people and they need somebody to coach them how to be whatever, are you a coach? Or are you like, can you coach people? Because that's the question I ask. So even when I talk about being inclusive in all sectors, women have to step up and say, hey, I want to be in that sector. I'll give you another example. I think the solar energy is a great sector, right? I've been looking at the solar energy sector. I think it's a great sector, but I think you got to think outside of the box. Like, you can't think the same way. You know what I'm saying? You can't think the same way and expect to make like changes, right? So for me, I'm looking at that sector. I'm looking at solar, wind energy, things like that, because it's not going anywhere. It's going to be here to stay. And do you want to be a part of that while it's growing? Like, because you can, but you have to want to. So when I say be inclusive, I think the opportunities are there for women to be inclusive, but they got to want to be included in that. So I have to, I can't just say, we're not including them. You got to want to be included. You got to say, let me take a weekend and let me look at these opportunities. Let me see if this can work with my business. Let me see if I can be a part of their business. Let me see if I can go out there and support this entrepreneur because they're in that sector, but they need my service. They're in tech, but they could use my service. They're in solar energy, but they could use my service. That's how you have to think about things. But people don't think, I'm finding that a lot of women don't think like that. They're in their industry, they're coaches, they coach, but they only coach certain type of people. But there are companies that are starting all over the place and they need coaches. So you don't coach those people, you don't coach them. So when I say, inclusive, I get it. We want the platforms to be open, but we got to want to be a part of that. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I found out probably back, I think it was in September. In September, we had an event downtown Atlanta, and there were a lot of cybersecurity professionals there. And there were some companies there that was woman-led, woman-owned. There was a school that was run by this woman. She had a cybersecurity school, so she put people through school to become cybersecurity engineers. So, the people that were there, they were trying to figure out how to get a job. I've gone through all this training. How do I get a job? Well, one of the gentlemen that were there, he said to me, so a young guy came up to me. He was young. He's in his mid-20s. And he was like, I went through the training. I've been putting out resumes. I put out about 400 resumes. Now, here's what I know about cybersecurity. There are about 3 million jobs available. 3 million with an M. 3 million, right? And so he said to me, I can't nobody is calling me back. And I'm like, well, how could that be when there are like 3 million open jobs available in cybersecurity? So one of the gentlemen who had started a cybersecurity company was there. And I said to him, I was like, look, we're telling people to go and get these cybersecurity certificates. And now we have a whole room of them and they can't find a job. What's the problem? He said to me, the problem was that cybersecurity is an elite industry. So he says it's an elite industry. And he said, at the end of the day, you have to almost be jumped into the industry, which makes absolutely no sense, right? It makes no sense. And so these people who have gone out and they've gotten the training, but they don't have any hands-on experience outside of their training. So they're caught in the catch-22. They don't have the experience, but nobody will hire them to get the experience. So that sounds a little crazy to me. So I don't think that's just a gender thing with women. I think that's just a thing in general. So you got the gender thing going on in entrepreneurship, and then you got this other thing going on where you got to be a part of this elite group. You have to pay your dues and all that kind of crazy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So there is a lot that you can do in this space to help. And so those are just a couple of things. I got to go pay another sponsor. So stay tuned. I'll be right back so we can continue this conversation.
Are you ready to lead the clean energy revolution? Join Harbor Solar as a solar consultant. As the #1 fastest growing industry, solar energy is not just a trend, it's the future. Harbor Solar offers you a chance to be part of this exciting era. With us, you'll help homeowners transition to solar, reduce energy bills, and make a positive impact on our planet. And it's not just rewarding in impact, but in earnings too. As a Harbor Solar consultant, enjoy quick commissions and a chance to monetize your network. Don't wait. Lead the change. Embrace the opportunity. Join Harbor Solar today and shine bright in the solar industry. Click the link in the description for more information.
Welcome back. You're watching and listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, bringing you your daily dose of business and technology. My new format that I got to get used to. Like, I have so many buttons over here, so you guys can't see. All you see is like my background, and that's my real background. I probably need to make that better, right? Anyway, I have so much going on the side. I have like all these videos pre-programmed and tabs, and it's crazy. So I'm doing all these different things. But anyway, welcome back. We're talking about how to bridge the gender gap between in entrepreneurship. And one of the things I wanted to talk about too was being able to encourage male allies to support these women in business. So listen, I'm all open for it. When I launched the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce, I was thinking about, women, because I'm a woman. I hear what women are saying. I understand what they're kind of going through. And so a lot of people thought that when I did that, I was shutting out the fellas. We were not, we weren't shutting out the fellas, but there are just certain things that we need as women, that we kind of rally around, right? And so we didn't shut them out. So for me, when we had one event that we were doing last year that was just for women only, just one. It was called Time Out, Let Your Hair Down. But the women were so busy with families, they couldn't even do that. But that was the only one event that men were not invited to. All of our other events, men were invited to. Now, here's the thing. There are a bunch of great guys out there who don't mind supporting women. But if we act like we don't need them, that's a problem, because they figure we don't need them. I'm always, listen, my best business partner, one of my best business partners is a dude. And we talk on the phone more than our female friends because we talking business. He's encouraging me. I'm encouraging him. He's educating me. I'm educating him. And sometimes we don't agree, but that's okay because we have agreed to disagree. But when it comes to, me saying, hey, I need this, can you support it? It's always a yes. And it's the same on his end. When he comes to me and say, hey, what do you think about this? I need this. It's a yes. So you need the support of men and you have to welcome the men. Like, you can't push them away. Don't be snotty. It's funny because I bowl in a league on Thursday nights, right? And I think I'm a pretty nice person, but there's a guy who just happened to tell me one night that he just thought I had the RBF, resting B face. And I'm looking like, what? He's like, you never smile. I'm like, really? And I did not know that. So I said that to my daughter. She's like, yeah, you look mean all the time. I said, do I? She's like, yeah, you do. I had no idea that I look mean all the time, but I guarantee you the reason I'm looking mean is because I'm probably in deep thought. I'm very competitive. So if I'm bowling, my thought is I got to go up here and get a strike. And when it's in business, I'm in deep thought. So my daughter says to me, you have a mean face. I'm like, really? And so I'm trying to smile more. And I said all that to say, I'm not telling you that you got to go out there and be like a Cheshire cat, like giggling and carrying on. But I am saying that if you want people to support you, you got to be approachable, right? Because some women are just not approachable. So that even if the fellas want to approach you because you seem so unapproachable, it's a no for them. Another thing too, we need to look at more of, access to funding. We hear this one all the time. The access to funding is almost impossible for females, and forget it if you are a woman of color, it's like 1%. There's a lot of funding always floating around, but when it comes to women getting access to capital, there's an issue, right? Financial institutions and investors need to consciously work toward making more funding available and accessible to women in business. And I talk about that a lot. When I'm out there talking, I remember asking a legislator here in Gwinnett County, where's the money? Because you keep telling us that the money is there. Where is the money? And she pretty much said to me, you have to rub elbows with the right people. Like, we've given the money to the people that had the money, but you have to go out and rub elbows with those people. Well, who are the people? Because we couldn't figure out who were the people, right? So there's funding out there that's being given to constituents of legislators, and it's sitting there in these little pockets that no one has access to but their friends and the people that got it last year. So that's always an issue too. So we need to have clear lines of how to have access to this capital with less red tape and hurdles to jump over. Because I felt like when she said that to me, I thought that was nuts. I was like, did she just tell me to go rub elbows with folks? The people that I don't even know who they are. Well, tell me who they are. And then I'll go that part. I just got go rub elbows, which brings me to my last point. You got to network. You do have to network. And so these are actionable steps to bridge that gap in entrepreneurship. You have to go network. Listen, I am an introvert. I know people don't believe it. I will be an extrovert when I have to. I was told that's called an ambivert. I do not like networking because I'm not a pretentious kind of person. So I feel like when I'm networking, I'm being a little pretentious, right? So, but it's one of those necessary evils that you have to do. So you have to go out and network. You have to go out and meet people. You have to go out and tell people what you do. When we started our first company years ago, 25 years to be exact, and I call this my first real company. Like I've been doing entrepreneurship since 1997. But I call my doll company my first real business. And the reason I called it that is because I had to do a business plan. I got investment dollars for the company. I had to learn so much stuff. So that was my first real business, right? And I do not like networking. But when I tell you I was on a mission to get the money, to do whatever, I will go out and network and talk about that company until we finally got investors. So you have to go out and network. And we got investors. They invested in the company. We was able to bring our product to market. Never ever setting a foot on China's soil. We were able to get a manufacturer because of Toy Fair. We did the entire thing, right? But that was because we was constantly networking. We were on planes, off planes, in cars, off cars. We did so much networking and traveling to make this happen till it had no other choice but to happen. So even though I'm not a networker because I don't like being pretentious, I know it's a necessary evil for me. Now, for some people, they're like social butterflies. They're just all over the place. They're connecting people. They're connecting dots. That happens not to be me. I met this guy recently. When I tell you he was connecting everybody in the room, it's like he had a string and he was just going from one person to he is a networker. And I said to him, because it was funny because he took my hand, he walked me to the next person, he held my hand. He walked me to the next person. He introduced me to this person. I needed that though, because I'm not a networker. So the fact that he even, something happened. The fact that he even thought to take my hand and walk me over to introduce me to somebody, which turned out to be a great introduction, was amazing. He's a networker. I'm not. So, but here's the thing. If you're not, there are people in the room who are. They could probably take your hand, but they can't take your hand if you're not in the room. This guy took my hand. So I saw him again at another event. He did the exact same thing. He took my hand. He walked me to a young lady who did an interview with me. Took my hand, walked me to the interview. Here, come talk to her. He's a networker. He's a connector. That's what he does, right? And so you may not be that person. I'm not that person. He was. He just grabbed my hand and took me to the next person. We need that. That's a way to bridge the gap. We need people to sometimes take our hands. But here's the thing. When they take your hand, you have to let them. Let me say that part again because somebody missed that. When they take your hand, you have to let them take your hand and let them lead you sometimes. And he was doing a good thing. He introduced me to some people. He got me on an interview right then on the spot. He wanted to introduce me to some other people, so these are some of the ways that you can actually bridge the gender gap when it comes to entrepreneurship. I mean, it's not all the ways, but there's some of the ways. And I have 5 more ways on the website. So you can check the website at Good Morning Gwinnett when you get a minute. But here's the thing. Once we all kind of on the same page, and I don't know if we'll ever be on the same page, but I hope we can get to like the majority of us on the same page because we start businesses a lot quicker, right? We're a lot passionate about what we do. We want to make sure our communities are strong. We want to do all of these great. We need the support of not just other women. We need the support of men as well. And so we need you to take us seriously. We need you to know that what we're doing matters because it matters to us, right? Even if it doesn't make sense to you. Like when I talked about that, when I pitched that business, the guy, it didn't make sense to them because they couldn't figure it out. Fast forward from 2013 to 2024, streaming platforms are everywhere. People on all of the channels. It's crazy. When I started doing that, it didn't make sense. He was like, well, Howard. So he said something. I can't remember what it was. It was his voice. It was his demeanor. It was his face. And he said something. I said something back with a straight face. And so, I was ahead of the game at that point. And sometimes we have to educate people on how to help us. Like maybe if I was a little bit more polished back then, I probably would have been able to articulate why this was a good fit to him. I thought I was doing that until he said something that kind of ticked me off. And it was like, not you. It won't be for you. So sometimes we need to know how to articulate. Even when I talk about working with local officials, I can say support us all I want to, but if I'm not saying how to support us, they won't. Even though they say yes to me, if I'm not saying, hey, this is how I need you to support what we're doing. This is how I need you to support the women of this chamber. This is how I need you to support this initiative. If I'm not saying that, they can't support it. And I had to learn that, just saying, hey, support us, that's not good enough. You have to show them how to support you. Even when I think about the women of the chamber, we send out surveys like, how can we support you? A lot of times when people don't even know how they need to be supported because they don't know what they need or what they want. So if we're going to bridge this gap, it's going to take everybody from all sides. It's going to take you women understanding what you really want and articulating that, because if you don't, nobody can help you. And then it's going to take everybody else understand, okay, this is what they're saying they need. How can we help them and make it happen? How can we draw blood? I'm running for election right now. I want to run on this because if it were me, if I was running, listen, that's what I would run on. I'm just saying, there's millions of women in business, and we need that support. We need those incentives. We need tax incentives. And I've been asked to run, and I've said no quite a few times. So anyway, listen, I feel like I've been babbling on, and this is going to get better. Bear with me, because this is my first, not my first talk. This is not my first video. It is my first, did I do a video this year already? Anyway, this is what you'll get, y'all. I'm going to be talking tech, and it'll be a little bit more interactive. I had to kind of work my mind around all these other pieces I got going on over here, but I promise to do my best to bring you great content, great people, inspiring stories, great tools that are going to help your business grow, great information that's going to empower you to think differently, because that's a biggie. Like the way you think about things is huge. A lot of times people just, they can't think outside of where they are. So they get kind of stuck there and they miss great opportunities. And I keep going back to the Georgia AI Summit because that was such a proud event for me in Georgette, because we had a room full of amazing people. And because it had the word tech and AI attached to it, a lot of people missed out on a great opportunity to possibly do business with people who needed their support. And so, I have to I keep going back to that because, it's just, we have to change the way we think about stuff. We have to think outside of the box. I'm a big idea thinker, right? Thank you, Angela. Thanks for dropping in. I'm a big idea thinker, right? Like, I think when somebody comes to me, and I used to call it a curse and a gift, but it's a gift. If you came to me and said, Audrey, I want to do this thing, right? By the time you finish telling me what it is, I've already came up with the entire plan in my head that I can actually tell you what it is, right? I'm always outside of the box. Hence is why I'm doing this show at 10 o'clock, Monday through Thursday live, talking about business and tech. I'm always outside of the box, which is why I'm hiring someone to come on at 8 o'clock to 9:30 to do news for Good Morning Gwinnett. I'm outside of the box. I've always been outside of the box, but you have to think outside of the box too. You have to change the way you think about things. You have to change the way you interact with people. When people make recommendations or suggestions, you have to be open to at least thinking about them. The guy said, I got the RBF. I'm like, what? Me? And my daughter said the same. She's like, you got a mean face. I'm like, okay, so now I'm consciously trying to not have a mean face because I'm not mean at all. Well, some people think I'm mean. I'm not mean though. And I'm very approachable. And most people who know me, I'm super friendly. But if I'm walking around and my face is looking mean and contrived, it's like I'm not approaching her. So you have to be conscious of the things that you're doing and the things that you're putting out. Energy is a big thing. You put out bad energy, you're going to get bad energy back. If you put out bad energy with me and I see you putting out bad energy, you're going to repel me. And I'm sure that's for a lot of people who protect their energies. Like when people put out bad energy vibes, and especially people who don't think they do, and they put it out, that repels people. So if you're wondering why people are not around you and they don't want to be, it's the energy you're putting out. All of these things make a difference in business, all of them. Relationships are everything. I've learned that over the years. I remember before, and I'm gonna end in a second, but I remember when I was in Jersey. I used to live in Jersey. I grew up in Jersey. Shout out to all my peeps in Jersey. When I was in Jersey, we were grinding. So it was like, let's go. When I moved to Georgia, which is where I was born, everything had slowed down for me, and people wanted to go out and drink coffee and do lunch. And I'm thinking, like really do coffee and lunch? I didn't know, because that's not how we operated back then in Jersey. It was like, hey, we're going to do this. Let's go do it. It was no, let's go do lunch and let's go have coffee. And I don't even drink coffee. So this was my thing. Like, I don't drink coffee. So quite a few people said, I remember trying to get this guy on the show, and he was like, yeah, I'll come on the show. Let's do coffee. I'm like, okay, well, let me put you on the calendar. He has never been on my show because I did not do coffee with him. But I didn't understand, like, that's what people do to build relationships. Now I do. I do now. Like, I go to lunch, brunch, dinner, coffee, tea, whatever. You got to be open and accessible. You got to be willing to listen. Someone said to me on YouTube, I'm constantly trying to grow my YouTube channel. And they said to me, hey, you got too much fluff in the show. Which I did. I had a lot of fluff. I had the horoscopes. I had music. I had the daily thing. I had all of that. I took it all out. Hence is why you see me right now. If they're telling me that's what they want, then I'm going to give it to them. If they want me to get to the point about what it is I'm trying to talk about, I'm going to give it to them. So you got to be open. All right, listen. I'm glad you stuck around for 33 minutes. You could have been anywhere, but you spent 33 minutes with me on my new platform, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Join me. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit subscribe. Also, be sure to share the show with your friends. I promise you, it's going to get better. Just give me a second. I already got great guests lined up already. And so you should start seeing them pop in next week. I already got them lined up. I may even have a co-host one day a week. I don't know. I might. So, I'm excited about the show. This is not my first rodeo. This is me trying to get out of my head about Good Morning Gwinnett, because for 5 years, I pretty much done predominantly all audio, fighting video, tooth and nail, like, I want to do video. And here I am. God will push you, baby. Even when you don't think you need to be pushed, he'd be like, nope, I told you to go do that. And you're going to do it when you want to do it. No. You're going to do it now. And he kicked me right out the plane. So here I am. Thank you again for tuning in. You could have been anywhere in the world, my friends, but you spent the last 34 minutes with me, and I love and appreciate you for that. If you enjoyed this episode of the show, be sure to share with your friends. Also, be sure to go to goodmorninggwinnett.com to listen to all my past episodes there, also to read great content on the website as well. I'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. God willing. Until next time, make it a great day. Bye, y'all.
You've been watching or listening to the Good Morning Gwinnett Show, hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe to the show today and share it with your friends by going to www.goodmorninggwinnett.com.